What you need to know about wheat/gluten-free diets. Before I have that discussion, I do want to make sure that you understand that these diets have been around a really long time. Over 25 years ago, I was extraordinarily ill, and I followed this diet strictly, religiously, fanatically for at least 5 years. It didn't heal my bowel or body then, and it won't heal your body and bowel now either. So these aren't new. There's no new revolutionary thing about these things. They failed back then, and they are going to fail now too. There are a few good things about them as far as using them as a crutch while you heal your bowel and body, but they have a lot of problems too that you should be aware of. First of all, these diets do not get acidity out of your body. They do absolutely nothing to move the acids out of your body that cause organ weakness, overweight problems, illness, disease, premature death, addictions, all kinds of symptoms. Number two, they also do not heal your bowel. So you can avoid wheat and gluten, but the bacterial environment in your bowel that's unhealthy is not going to be fixed when you do that. If you feel better, that's great, but don't confuse that with thinking that I feel better and that must mean my bowel is healthier and my body's healthier too, because that is definitively not the case whatsoever. In fact, of course, ironically, if you had a healthy bowel, like you're creating on this program, This Works, Crutches Don't, you would be able to eat wheat and gluten and be okay. So the cause of the allergy or the inability to digest gluten is the unhealthy bowel bacterial environment. Avoiding gluten doesn't fix the bowel bacterial environment, and once you do heal this bowel bacterial environment, then you will be able to eat wheat and gluten without a problem. When I was really sick, I actually went to the emergency room a couple times after eating pizza. I was so severely allergic to it, and I've eaten it 100, 200 times probably since then, since I healed my bowel and body, and have zero symptoms. It is a crutch. Number three, you do need to keep in mind that if you feel better on one of these diets, it's not because it's healed you. It's not because, again, you're going to live longer or you're going to have any permanency of those symptoms. As soon as you add that stuff back in, if you don't heal your bowel and body, as soon as you add back in wheat and gluten, the symptoms will come back. So it is a crutch, and it's also a hard one to maintain. I think there are some better crutches to follow, but that is one of the problems with these diets. Not only doesn't it not heal, but it's also a crutch, and it's pretty difficult to live in this world environment and avoid wheat and gluten all the time. Having said that, if you do have a problem with wheat and gluten, if it causes bloating, diarrhea, gas, asthma, or any other symptoms, by all means you need to, or should avoid it, I should say, until you are healthier. Now, if you're working with me directly in my office, a lot of times about 6 months into the program, people can start adding this back in and tolerate it. If you're doing this with the instructions in my book, This Works, Crutches Don't, you of course are going slower than what you'd be getting if you worked with me individually. And you really want to wait at least a good year before you start adding some of the stuff back in and seeing if you can tolerate it. You will be able to one day. How long it takes before that happens is obviously really individual. It just depends on how weak your gut was in the first place and how quickly you're healing it with this program. So again, do follow it if you are following it when you start this program. Last but not least, and I think this might be the most unspoken aspect of these diets and misunderstood aspect or concept that you really should understand and would be very valuable to you in trying to look and feel good while you're healing your bowel and body, which is that wheat and gluten are found in carbohydrates. You don't find them in chicken and fish or even in fats like butter or cheese. They're found in carbohydrates like bread and pasta and bagels and crackers and stuff like that. So if you eat a wheat gluten-free diet and eat a lot of wheat or gluten-free carbohydrates, so maybe you're not eating wheat pasta but rice pasta and rice breads and gluten-free crackers and all that other stuff, that could still be a very cleansing diet. And remember, in this office, when we talk about cleansing diets, that causes acids to dump out of the organs into the blood and bowel faster than you can eliminate them, which causes your symptoms to go up, your addictions to get worse, your weight to go up. If you don't understand the cleansing thing, go back to my video. It's on YouTube. That's called Avoid Cleansing Diets for Now, and that will better explain it. But I do find a lot of times clients come into me and they're following one of these diets and still feel miserable. And I think that's disappointing and discouraging and frustrating, because they were sold on the idea that as long as they got rid of the wheat and gluten, they'd be just perfectly fine. And they're still feeling lousy. And a lot of times the reason they are is because, again, of course, this didn't heal their bowel or body, but they're also still eating a very highly cleansing diet, even though it's wheat-free, and they're moving acids into their blood and bowel faster than they can eliminate it. So if you have more questions about this, you can find information on it in my book. Again, This Works, Crutches Don't. It's on pages 137 to 139. I discuss it in chapter 5. And as always, if you need more help with this process along the way, you can always work with me personally. You can find information on scheduling on my website at www.thisworkscrutchesdon't.com under the scheduling page. And I'd be more than happy to help you heal your bowel and body fast so that you can look and feel great, as well as eventually incorporate these foods back into your diet, which, by the way, a lot of wheat, gluten foods are actually very healthy for you. Yes, they create symptoms, but they're healthy for you, so you do want to be able to add them back. And also, by the way, I often have clients come in and some other practitioner said, oh, just avoid these for a year and you'll be able to add them back in. And that just drives me crazy. It's so frustrating for me, really for you. You are the ones who need this process. I've already gone through all this stuff. But, to be told that if you just avoid it for a year, that somehow magically you'll be able to eat all this stuff again in a year. Anyway, that just won't happen. So with this program, you will. And again, visit my website if you have any other questions.